Look what I got. Oh, this thing is so cool. Does it run? Of course not. Oh, look, I have a Supra. Today we are doing even more sanding, and this time we are working on the middle of the car. So let me pull it out of the garage and show you exactly what's gonna happen. Basically, the story goes, we're looking at the car door. You can't really see many dents, but there are dents there, and what we need to do is we need to sand and prime the door. Now, this seems pretty simple, except for the fact that there's a whole bunch of dents on these doors that you guys just can't see. A bunch of small dings from just years of being nicked or whatever it may have you. So, here's the order of things that we need to do. First off, well, there's more plastic dip along the bottom that we need to take off. So we're going to lay plastic dip. We are going to lay paint stripper along the bottom, and then while that's settling in, we're gonna take off the middle trim, take off the mirrors, and then we'll come back and take the plastic dip off the bottom. So without further ado, let's get to work. A large part of me wishes I would have had this pressure washer earlier, so that way I could have seen the entire car as blue before I started doing all this paint prep. But hey, here we are. So as you probably noticed, I decided not to take the trim off, and the reason was the trim lies very straight along the side of the car, and I was thinking to myself, in order to get it off, I'm probably going to have to bend and warp it, and I don't think I'll be able to get it back to perfectly smooth, so it'll be easier just to tape over the trim and then sand everything and leave the trim on without having to worry about whether or not I'm going to be warping the trim. Now that adds one incredibly minor step of having to tape over the trim, but I mean, we were already gonna do tape anyway. Let me show you. So our next step is we need to tape along the trim here so that way we don't sand it, a little bit along the B pillar in the back, and then obviously we're going to be taping over the trim here. From there, we're going to sand everything down with 220 grit sandpaper and then fill over any bumps that need to be filled in. Same exact process that we did for the hood and the fenders. So we're going to tape off the trim, grab our machine sander, and sand everything down to 220 grit sandpaper. Alright, we got everything prepped, sanded with 220, and I put a layer of filler on there so that way it could go ahead and dry. And it has now been a bit, so it's time to actually sand this down. So we're gonna hit this with about 80 grit sandpaper to take it down, then go over it again with 220 to make sure it's perfectly smooth, and then we should be almost ready for primer, except not yet. I don't know if you could tell, but that door handle is a little broken. So we are going to attempt to fix this, or at least patch it for the time being, since I don't have a replacement door handle. So my plan is to take a piece of fiberglass, lay it over top of this section, so that way we have a full patch connecting the top corner here and the rest of the handle. Now I fully understand that this isn't a perfect permanent patch, but the idea is that I want to get something that'll keep the handle from bowing out every single time I use it, and so that way I could at least get the car prepped and ready for paint in this regard, and then eventually when I get another handle I'll replace it. But for myself, and with the stage that we're at right now, I don't think it's worth it to just say, hey, we're gonna leave it alone, leave it broken, and just wait until we get a new handle, because I can't source one really quickly right now. So we're gonna patch it as best we can for now, so that way we can continue to move on with the prep work and possibly paint the car. And then if we do, or when we do replace the handle, it's as easy as just painting that one door handle, so we're not gonna have to repaint the rest of the car. But it means in the meantime, when we do paint the car, we won't have a mismatching door handle. So to recap, we are going to sand down the filler, lay a little bit of fiberglass over the door handle, and then prime the whole door black. And then we'll catch up to continue on with the roof and actually the top of the windshield little trim area, which may be a bit of a hassle, but we're gonna get to it in a second. So let's start with this door. I wanted to really quickly show you something pretty cool before I went to the primer stage. As I mentioned when we first started, you really couldn't see or tell that there was many dents here. But after we did this layer of filler, you can now see where these spots are, where there just were some small dents that barely needed to be filled, but needed filling nonetheless. It's just really cool to me to actually see that, hey, although it doesn't seem like we were actually doing much, we actually filled in quite a few dents. So that was pretty cool to see, and I just wanted to share it with you. So now it's time to prime the door. Something weird to think is the fact that by the time we're done with this primer, the entire car will actually be the same color, which I've never seen in my life. That'll be so weird. While the primer is continuing to dry, the next part of the car we're going to work on is the entire top. The roof has a lot of sun damage that is going to need to be sanded down. Luckily, it's all pretty smooth, and then we'll just work our way down the side here till right about here. We're not going to worry too much about the back since we'll do that in the next video. We'll work on the pillars, but the biggest thing is actually right here. So this garnish is completely gone. So what we need to do is we need to trim back all the black plastic off of this so it's bare metal, and then we'll sand that down so the rest is completely gone, and then we'll be able to prime right over it, and it'll be just as good as new. The same essentially is going for the middle here, where this has some rust spots on it that we're going to sand off, and that'll be fine. So we are going to start by taking the plastic off of here, completely sanding everything down, and then we'll meet up to see whether or not we're going to need body filler or what. So let's begin by taking this off. I'm gonna tell you what, I got a cold and I don't like it. We are getting pretty close to being done. I just laid one other quick layer of primer over top where the filler was, and then we're gonna let that dry and wet sand everything. But while that's drying, I wanna put a mirror on because you notice we took it off. And this is the one I want to replace it. Ka-chow. So I had these mirrors in my last Supra and I wanna use them again because I think they look so much sleeker than the original ones. I mean, let me just pull the other ones out for comparison. I mean, there's your before and after right there. The ones on the right are just so much sleeker. So the way that I'm going to attach them to the car is reusing the screw holes that are there. So as you see, there's multiple holes that go to the inside of the car, and on the back side there's areas for screws to be bolted in. So all we're going to do is we're going to throw a screw in the back there and bolt it right up, and it'll be as simple as that. These mirrors are one of those things that makes such a big difference despite being such a small addition. It makes the car look so much sleeker as a whole, and I'm so happy I held on to these to reuse them on this car as well. So let's put them on so I could be like, wow, that's so sleek, because I want to see them.
The next day.
Oh man, as I was putting on those mirrors last night, it was probably around 4 or 5 p.m. and then all of a sudden that cold I was talking about just came up and slapped me upside the head, and oh my goodness, I was out like a light. I had such a bad headache, it was a pain. But anyway, the mirrors are on. They just look so sleek from afar, even the one on the other side there, and I'm very happy with them. Now it will take a little bit of adjustment to get everything sealed up along the edges. I do need to run a bead of silicone around the side, but I'm not going to do that until we paint it, because I'm likely just going to pull these off for the painting process and then put them back on when it's actually time to have it finally done. But there is one last step we have to do for the car for this video, and it's the same as the hood and the fenders, and that is wet sanding. So we're going to grab our 800 grit sandpaper, a sanding block, and then wet sand the entire door and the entire roof, and we will be done. We finished. Oh man, like the front half of the car is black. This is weird. Just look at this. This is crazy. I am such a big fan. But we got the door done, we got the mirrors on, and we got the roof done. Another big step done. So this only leaves us the rear end of the car to do next time, and that is going to be essentially it. And then after that, we're going to be legitimately painting. Again, we'll be starting with Miata, but then going straight to this. But I am so excited. Well, as we've been nearing the painting process, I've actually been getting a lot more questions, unsurprisingly, about what color are we going with the Supra. And to be completely honest, I am not yet fully decided. So if you have suggestions for what color you'd like it to be, please leave a link down, not a link, please leave a comment down below. I'd really love to just be able to look through and hear what everyone thinks the color should be. I have a few colors in mind that I'm heavily leaning towards right now. I'm gonna keep those a secret, but I'm always open if something else shows up that I think would look a lot better on this car. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take a look at the link down below to philsupra.com. Check out some merch if you want some. There'll be a huge drop coming in about a month, and when that happens, some of the items that are on the shop will be no longer available. So check those out while you have the chance, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios. Oh wait, like and subscribe. Bye.